My dears, today, I'm going to tell you a story that truly tugged at my heart. It's about a young girl named Aurora, sold by her own father at the age of 18, to a cold and silent man who lived in the middle of nowhere. But what happened on that isolated farm? Oh, it was something no one could have ever imagined. And the one who's going to tell us this story is Aurora herself. Now it's your turn, my dear Fran.
Thank you, Nana Rose, my dear. Let's get started. The wind howled against the boards of the house, a constant sound that blended with the creaking of old wood. My fingers gripped the handle of the knife. The smell of dry earth invaded my nostrils. I gazed out at the horizon, the plain stretching out as far as the eye could see, a sea of yellowed grass under the leaden sky. Kansas, my home, my prison. 18 years. 18 years of living under the severe gaze of Earl, my father, a man consumed by bitterness, who never saw me as a daughter, only as a nuisance. Useless, he would mutter, as I tried to help out with the farming, my hands calloused and dirty. He had wanted a son, an heir to his lands. Instead, he got me. The proposal burst forth like thunder in the midst of calmness. Caleb Carter. A name whispered in tones of negotiation. A solitary farmer in need of assistance. Earl in need of money. The cattle, the coins. The price of my freedom? Or of my bondage? The wagon jolted along the dusty road, each bump a pang in my stomach. Caleb Carter didn't utter a word during the journey. His face, etched by time and sun, was an impenetrable mask. His eyes, dark and deep, revealed nothing. Who was this man to whom I was being delivered? What kind of life awaited me at that distant farm? The house was isolated, surrounded by vast and silent fields. Loneliness permeated the air. Without neighbors, without friends, it was just Caleb and me. A routine quickly fell into place. Hard work in the fields, silent meals, and solitary nights. He hardly ever spoke to me except to give orders. Feed the chickens. Bring water from the well. Clean the house. Ethan, Caleb's adolescent son, was different. His kind eyes watched me with curiosity, a shy smile on his lips. He helped me with tasks, chatted with me about mundane things. He was a ray of sunshine amidst the darkness. But Ethan was not Caleb. The weeks turned into months. Caleb's aloofness seemed unshakable. I wondered if he even saw me, if he knew my name. Did he care what happened to me? Or was I just another tool, an object to be used and discarded? My birthday was approaching. 18 years old. Another year of solitude, hard work, and silence. But something inside me refused to accept that fate. A spark of hope, stubborn and persistent, still burned. I decided to do something different. Something for Caleb. I planned everything in secret. An apple pie, his favorite flavor according to Ethan. A simple gift made with my own hands. A gesture of approach, an attempt to break the ice. But would it be enough? Would Caleb even notice? On his birthday, I placed the cake on the table next to his plate. He walked into the kitchen, his gaze fixed on the floor. He sat down, not saying a word. He picked up his fork, cut a piece of the cake, and chewed slowly, expressionless. My heart was pounding in my chest. He raised his eyes. His eyes met mine. For an instant, I felt a spark of recognition, a shadow of surprise, a glimpse of something more. He opened his mouth. What would he say? And what would happen next? He cleared his throat, a guttural sound that broke the thick silence. Good, he said, his voice rough and low, as if he hadn't used it in a long time. Good pie. A faint relief spread through my chest. A word. Just one word, but enough to ignite a faint flame of hope. Caleb Carter had noticed my gift. He had liked it. Maybe, just maybe, there was more behind that facade of coolness. In the days that followed, the routine remained the same, but something had shifted. His eyes met mine more frequently, a brief, almost furtive glance, yet one that did not go unnoticed. He no longer spoke, but his silences seemed less burdensome, less oppressive. I began observing him more closely, the way he tended to the animals with an unexpected patience, the manner in which his calloused fingers caressed the wooden railing of the old porch. There was a melancholy to his movements, a deep-seated sorrow that seemed to permeate every corner of the farm. Ethan told me about her, Sarah, Caleb's wife, who had died 5 years ago, a victim of a sudden fever, and he had never recovered from the loss, Ethan said, his heart petrified by grief. The farm, once a home filled with laughter, had become a mausoleum of memories. The realization hit me like a shock. Caleb wasn't just a cold and distant man. He was a wounded man trapped in his own suffering. The barrier he had built around himself was a form of protection, a shield against further pain. From that day on, my view of him changed. I no longer saw him as my tormentor, but as a prisoner of his own past. The coldness transformed into vulnerability, the indifference turned into loneliness, and perhaps into something more. One day, as I was milking the cows, he approached me. He stood in silence for a moment, observing my movements. Finally, he spoke. "Do you know how to ride?" The question caught me off guard. I had never mounted a horse before. The idea scared me and thrilled me at the same time. "No," I replied, my voice hesitant. "I can teach you," he said, his voice low and firm. That was the beginning of a new phase. Caleb taught me how to ride, his strong fingers grasping the reins, his voice guiding my movements. At first, I felt uncertain, afraid of falling, but gradually I gained confidence. The wind in my face, the feeling of freedom, the connection with the animal. It was a liberating experience. During classes, he spoke more, recounting stories about the farm, his childhood, and Sarah. His words simple yet emotionally charged, and for the first time he allowed me to enter his world. One night, as we rode under the moonlight, he stopped the horse. He looked at me, his eyes shining in the silver light. "Sarah loved to ride," he said, his voice choked. "She loved this place." A heavy silence settled between us. I didn't know what to say. I felt his pain as if it were my own. The sorrow that consumed him, the longing for his beloved wife. He sighed, a deep and painful sound. "I miss her," he said, his voice a whisper. At that moment, something broke. The ice barrier he had built around himself began to crack. He had opened up to me. He had shown me his pain. I extended my hand and touched his arm, a simple gesture, an act of empathy. He looked at me, his eyes brimming with tears. For the first time, I saw a smile on his lips, a faint but genuine smile. From that day on, our relationship deepened. We shared meals, conversations, moments of silence. I learned to love the farm, the land, the animals. I learned to love Caleb. 2 years had passed. The farm had undergone a transformation. Sorrow had given way to hope. Loneliness to companionship. Silence to complicity. One day, Caleb called me out to the porch. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant colors. He took my hand, his callous fingers wrapping around mine. "Aurora," he said, his voice firm and smooth. "Would you do me the honor of being my wife?" Tears streamed down my face. A lump formed in my throat. I couldn't speak. I merely nodded my head, signaling yes. He smiled, a broad and radiant smile. That smile transformed his face, illuminating his eyes. He seemed younger, lighter, happier. We embraced, a tight and warm hug. A hug that sealed our fate. A hug that marked the beginning of a new life. We got married in a simple ceremony at the small town church. Ethan was our best man. Caleb's mother, a sweet and kind lady, hugged me affectionately. And to my surprise, my mother showed up. She had left Earl exhausted from the abuse and bitterness. Her eyes were brimming with tears as she hugged me. For the first time, I felt like we had a chance to rebuild our relationship. Happiness was palpable. A sense of fulfillment enveloped me. I had found my place in the world. I had found my love. But life holds surprises, not always pleasant ones. A letter arrived, sealed with an unknown crest. Caleb turned pale as he read it, his eyes filling with apprehension. What was written there? What secrets from the past would return to haunt our present? The yellowed paper trembled in Caleb's hands, the elegant and dark calligraphy contrasting with the sudden pallor of his face. The twilight on the porch now seemed cold, unrelenting, as if it illuminated not a moment of happiness, but the harbinger of a storm. What did that letter contain? What ghost from the past was now coming to disturb the peace we had so arduously achieved? The silence stretched out, dense and oppressive. Caleb said nothing, his eyes fixed on the words printed on the paper. I could feel the tension emanating from him, a vibration that was almost palpable, making me catch my breath. Finally, he lifted his eyes, a lost and distant gaze, as if he were seeing something beyond me, something that haunted him. It's from the Carter's attorney, he said, his voice a hoarse whisper, almost inaudible. My uncle Samuel has passed away. The news in itself didn't elicit an immediate surprise from me. Caleb had never mentioned an uncle, and the distance in his eyes suggested a tenuous, perhaps non-existent relationship. But there was something more in his voice, a note of apprehension that indicated to me that Samuel Carter's death was merely the tip of the iceberg. Samuel had no direct heirs, he continued, his voice now a bit firmer, although still laden with an unexplainable weight. The farm, the lands, everything will be divided among the closest relatives. Now, understanding was beginning to emerge. The farm, the home we had built together, the refuge that had taken us in and allowed us to heal our wounds. Was everything at risk? And you're one of the heirs, I said, the question hanging in the air like a silent accusation. He nodded, a slow and hesitant movement. Yes, I am one of the heirs. But there's a clause, he added, his voice now laden with a dark and enigmatic tone. A clause that could change everything. Night fell over the plain, enveloping the farm in a mantle of darkness. We entered the house, silence following us as a shadow. Caleb placed the letter on the kitchen table, the yellowed paper contrasting with the dark wood. I sat down beside him, my heart pounding hard in my chest. I needed to know. I needed to understand what was happening. Which clause? I asked, my voice now firm, despite the fear that was eating away at me. He sighed, a deep and heavy sound. He picked up the letter again, his fingers tracing the printed words on the paper. Samuel was a peculiar man, he said, a tone of bitterness tinging his voice. He always liked games, riddles. He left a will full of conditions. He explained that Samuel had stipulated that the farm would be divided among the heirs, but with one condition. One of them was to remain on the property for a year, taking care of the land and the house. If no one accepted, the farm would be sold, and the money would be divided among the heirs. But there was more. Samuel also left a riddle, Caleb continued, his voice now barely above a whisper. A riddle that, if solved, will reveal the true heir, the one who will be able to buy out the others and become the sole owner of the farm. An enigma, a macabre game concocted by a dead man. The image of Samuel Carter took shape in my mind. A solitary and eccentric man, toying with the fate of his relatives even in death. What is the riddle? I asked, curiosity now mingling with fear. Caleb handed me the letter. My eyes scanned the printed words, the elegant handwriting dancing under the faint light of the lantern. A cryptic poem, full of metaphors and symbols. An intellectual challenge, but also a potential trap. Nobody knows what it means, Caleb said, his voice laden with desperation. The other heirs, they just want the money. They'll sell the farm and move on. His eyes met mine, a pleading glance, almost childish. I don't want to lose this place, Aurora, he said, his voice choked. This farm is all I have left. I understood him. I knew what that place meant to him. It was more than just land and wood. It was the memory of Sarah, the legacy of his family, his own identity. And I didn't want to lose that place either. It was our home. We're going to solve the riddle, I said, my voice firm and resolute. We're going to figure out what Samuel Carter meant. And we're going to keep this farm. But as the words escaped my mouth, a doubt assailed me. Who were the other heirs? What kind of people were they? And what would they be willing to do to get what they wanted? The night promised to be long. But the following night, and those that would come, would probably be even darker. Who else knew about the enigma? The lantern cast dancing shadows over the poem, each verse a labyrinth of words that seemed to mock our urgency. That enigma was more than a riddle, it was a test. A provocation launched from beyond the grave by a man who appeared to have foreseen the covetousness that his legacy would arouse. Nevertheless, the real question was not just deciphering the words, but anticipating the moves of the other players in that deadly game. Caleb's apprehension was palpable, a mix of fear of losing the farm and confronting the ghosts of his family's past. He mentioned a name, Aunt Agatha, with a tone of voice laden with resentment. A calculating woman, according to him, obsessed with money and willing to do whatever it took to get what she wanted. And then there was also a distant cousin, Victor, a lawyer of dubious reputation, known for his cunning and lack of scruples. What would their strategy be? Would they attempt to solve the enigma, or would they use other means to keep us away from the farm? Moreover, the very nature of the enigma raised unsettling questions. Why would Samuel Carter create such a complex game? What was the true prize? Was it merely the farm or something more valuable, something hidden between the lines of the poem and the depths of the family's history? Perhaps the enigma was a key, not just to the inheritance, but to long-buried secrets, truths that someone wanted to keep hidden. As Caleb read the poem aloud, trying to find a clue, a pattern, a key to unravel the mystery, I felt a chill run down my spine. It wasn't just the fear of the unknown, but a growing sensation that we were being watched, that someone, somewhere, was tracking our movements, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The farm, which had once been our sanctuary, now seemed like a trap. Nevertheless, we couldn't give in to fear. We had an enigma to solve, a home to protect, and a future to build. The night would be long, and dawn would bring new challenges and dangers. But we were in this together, and that was our greatest strength. What, however, would happen when the truth came to light? The enigma, like a shadow elongated by the crepuscular light, loomed over us, a final challenge to our resilience and a test of the strength of the bond that united us. Samuel Carter's words, woven into obscure verses, were more than a map to material treasure. They were a mirror that reflected the complexity of the human soul, the fragility of family ties, and the persistent quest for meaning amidst chaos. The race against time and against the other heirs, each driven by their own ambitions and secrets, had revealed to us unexpected facets of ourselves and the world around us. The truth, like a distant star on a dark night, twinkled amidst the fog of uncertainty. The clues, once fragmented and disjointed, converged into a revealing mosaic, where love, loss, forgiveness, and redemption intertwined in a poignant narrative. The farm, the stage of our trials and joys, had become a symbol of our journey, a place where the past and present met, shaping the future we dared to build. The solution to the enigma, when it finally manifested itself, did not bring with it merely the possession of the estate, but a deeper understanding of ourselves and the legacy we carried. Samuel Carter's inheritance was not just material, but also emotional, a legacy of secrets and resentments that we needed to confront and overcome in order to move forward. The truth, like a healing balm, soothed the wounds of the past, allowing love to flourish amidst the ashes of pain. The family, like a beacon in the midst of a storm, strengthened itself in the face of adversity. The bonds tested and refined became more resilient, capable of withstanding the trials of time. Forgiveness, like a bridge over an abyss, united hearts that had previously been separated by pain and resentment. Hope, like a flame that never dwindles, illuminated the path to a more promising future. Life, like a mighty river, flows on its course, carrying with it the memories of the past and the promises of the future. The farm, now a sanctuary of peace and love, stands as a testament to our journey, a place where nature and the human soul harmonize in a symphony of life. The beauty of the plain under the infinite Kansas sky reminds us of the vastness of the universe and the insignificance of our daily troubles in the face of eternity. With the truth revealed and family bonds strengthened, we are called to live with integrity, to love with passion, and to build a more just and compassionate world. The journey continues with its challenges and rewards, but now we walk together, hand in hand, with the certainty that love is the most powerful force in the universe. May the light we found amidst the darkness always guide us, and may the peace we achieved on our farm radiate out into the world, inspiring others to follow the path of hope and redemption.